Earlier this week, we told you about Bier, which is one of the biggest restaurant chains perhaps in this city. It's changing its dress code after some female servers complained publicly that their dresses were too revealing. Now, 2 former employees have filed a complaint with Ontario's Human Rights Commission. Becky Lockhart is one of them. She quit the job as a server with Bier because of the restaurant's dress code. She's now working at another restaurant where the dress code is gender neutral. She's with me in studio. Good morning.
Good morning. Happy to be here.
Glad to have you here. Describe what you were asked/forced to wear when you worked at Bier.
Absolutely. So the dress code was changed. Previously, it was a black polo golf shirt and black pants. You also had the option of wearing leggings, a skirt, whatever you felt most comfortable in, as long as it was black. And for women, they changed it to a short blue, tight polyester cocktail dress. And the material has been described as being similar to that of a bathing suit. It's very, very thin. You're also expected to wear heels or heeled boots. And then the men, in stark contrast, were asked to wear Gap jeans, a long-sleeve button-up shirt, and red Converse sneakers. So there is a little bit of a contrast there between the men's and women's uniforms.
Just a little bit. What was your reaction when you saw what you were being asked to wear?
Just frustration. I mean, this was communicated to us through an email. So I wasn't at work when I got this. It was, I believe, the middle of the afternoon. It came up on my phone. I opened the attachment, and it's this feeling of, here we go again. Why do they think they can get away with this in this industry?
You complained to your manager about it?
Absolutely,
What
right
happened?
away. So my biggest complaint initially was with the heels, because I have had to work in heels before. And in the restaurant industry, you work 8, 10, 11, 12. I've worked 14, 15-hour shifts
And
before.
you're moving all over the place all the time.
You're running as fast as you can. I mean, I remember wearing a pedometer to work once and covering 16 kilometers in a shift. And imagine doing that in heels. It's atrocious to your feet. And so I complained to my general manager immediately and was very clear that I know this is illegal. You can't make me do this. And I remember being in a staff meeting once and him saying, are we really going to keep talking about this?
But the heels are one thing. The dress is something that has raised a lot of attention and is something that Bier has pulled back on because of the public attention that it was given.
Absolutely.
What was it about the dress that you found? It sounds like an obvious question, but I think it's important to hear what you say, that you found so objectionable.
The reason why I objected to it so strongly, why my colleagues and I objected to it so strongly, is because it makes your job that much harder. When you have to be constantly worried about your dress riding up, about your underwear showing, about not being able to move freely, you can't do your job. And female servers are already put in kind of an interesting social position where people feel that they have a certain degree of intimacy with you, which is in many ways really wonderful. You get to have great conversations with people. I love that aspect of my job.
But what's the other side of it like?
But the other side of it is sometimes people feel as though they can put their arms around your waist, put their arms around your shoulders. And from what I've heard from my colleagues who stuck around after this uniform was implemented, they have been grabbed by customers. They've been touched by customers to a degree that never happened before we had these uniforms.
What is that like to go to work and, again, constantly be hit on by people, by patrons, by
It's
customers?
exhausting. It is exhausting because you are expected to smile through it, regardless of what's going on in your life. And again, 90% of people that I interact with are so fantastic, and I love having conversations with them. But I do remember one instance where I was at work and another server was serving a table of, there were 2 men, and each time that I would walk past them, they would make lewd comments towards me. And I started just avoiding going over to that end of our patio. And it just so happened that the table decided to stick around after the server who had been serving them went home for the end of her shift. And they specifically had asked for me to be serving them, which I tried to say no. I mean, it falls under your right to refuse unsafe work. These men were harassing me and making me feel unsafe.
But it's still
And yet you have to do it.
Yeah.
You have to smile through it. And being asked to work in a sexualized uniform like this uniform, it not only physically makes your job harder, it psychologically makes your job more difficult in a way that's not being asked of our male coworkers.
Bier has changed its dress code
Yes.
given the publicity that this story received. Why, given that, are you still going ahead with a formal complaint to the Ontario Human Rights Commission?
I quit my job the day before, well, not the day before. I gave my notice and I said that I would be available to work until the day that the new uniforms were implemented. So I had to quit my job over it. I had to make the choice between either stay and I have to subject myself to these working conditions while I'm fighting it, or quit. And so myself and one of my other colleagues were forced to quit our jobs and suffer the consequences of that. And then the other thing as well is that this kind of a uniform, these kinds of expectations of female servers are so normalized. I mean, when you go out to eat, I would challenge people, next time they go out to eat, look at your server's feet. What kind of shoes are they wearing? Those dresses, do they have a choice to wear those dresses, or were they told that they had to wear them? And it's just too normal. I don't want it to be normal anymore.
Is a story like this and the publicity that this got, is it likely, do you think, to change? And Bier Market has to change and had to change in part because that's a lot of negative publicity for a big restaurant chain. But is this going to change the entire industry, do you think?
I think that changing the entire industry it's going to take time. But having conversations like this are so vital, and hearing the actual human experiences of the servers who are being forced to pull down their dresses and shimmy around in heels and try not to slip and fall while carrying trays. It's so important that we hear those conversations, that we engage on this topic, because I do think that change is possible. I mean, there's been Moxie's is in the news with this, Earl's has been in the news with this, and every time it comes up in the news again, people are like, oh yeah, this is still a thing, this is still a story. Yeah. And so the more we talk about it, I think the more likely we are to have change.
Just very briefly, what's the dress code at the restaurant you're working in now?
It's fantastic. I wear jeans, a polo shirt, and an apron, and sneakers. It's great.
Becky, thank you.
Thank you.
Becky Lockhart filed a formal complaint last night with the Ontario Human Rights Commission because of the dress code at the Bier Market that would have required female servers to wear a tight, short dress and heels. The Bier Market has since changed that dress code, in large part because of the publicity this got through CBC's Go Public. It now offers its servers the option of wearing slacks and a top as well. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this. 416-205-5807, Twitter @Metro Morning. Your stories of the restaurant industry, please.